Come on. What you doing, little girl? What you doing, little girl?
And we're back. Back to it for another day of GodSIM game dev.
Okay, so we have our target delta. Next we're going to create a new variable called actual delta. And this is going to be our actual frame time converted from microseconds to milliseconds. So we simply have to write delta time divided by 1 million. And remember that even though this value is called delta time, it's actually our frame time. So I've stuck with the delta naming scheme to keep things consistent, but just a reminder to watch out for that. Finally, we're going to create one more variable, and this one's going to be called delta multiplier. And we're going to set this to actual delta divided by target delta. So the reason we want to do this is to compare our actual frame time with our target frame time and calculate the difference, which is the delta. So if we have a 60 FPS project that's lagging behind at 30 FPS, this delta multiplier variable will equal 2 because our animations and such need to run twice as fast to keep up. So now we just need to take these last two variables, the actual delta and delta multiplier, and simply paste them into the beginning of our step event so that they will update every frame. Since our target delta isn't going to change, we don't need to copy it into the step event. Now in practice you might want to actually make these values global and put them in a persistent object so you don't have to do this for every single object in your game. You can just do it once for your entire project. But for the sake of keeping things simple, I'm going to stick with local variables here, but do keep that in mind. Okay, so now we have our target frame time, our actual frame time, and the delta time between them. So to apply this to our project, we simply have to multiply the relevant values by our delta multiplier variable. So you can see here in my step event that I have a custom myIndex variable, and it's being incremented by 1 every frame. This animates the circular sprite you saw earlier, and as you could see, it didn't work so well when we changed frame rates because suddenly it was only updating half as many times per second, or a quarter of as many times per second. But with delta time, we can fix this by simply changing myIndex plus 1 to myIndex plus delta multiplier. And that's it. That's all there is to it to perfectly synchronize our sprite animations to any frame rate we want. Now, if you want a little more control over this, you can of course add your own multiplier as well, like say delta multiplier times 0.5, so that the sprite always runs at half speed, or delta multiplier times 2, so that it always runs at double speed, if that's what you want. So you still have complete control over everything. It will simply be adjusted to match whatever frame rate you are running at. And we can apply this principle to movement as well. Down here at the bottom, you'll see I have some code to move my object around, and just like the sprite animation, this needs to be adapted to delta time. So to do this, I simply need to take this x value here and change it from x plus 8 to x plus 8 times delta multiplier. And that's it! Our object movement is now perfectly adapted to any frame rate we want. Last but not least, we do have our timer. And like I said, this one's going to be a little bit different. While we could use our delta multiplier to simply offset our countdown speed, I'm going to change our increment here to actual delta instead. This way our timer is keeping track of actual time in milliseconds. And again, this will remain accurate whatever frame rate we are running at. In fact, this is just one example of why I always say you should never use GameMaker's built-in alarm system, because there's just nothing alarms can do that variables can't do better. And this is a really powerful example of that. How you can create a timer that tracks actual time rather than frames, and you have complete control over that. That's just something that the built-in alarms do not offer. So, with these changes made, let's quickly change our project back to 30 FPS and run our project again. And you can see that now everything runs at proper speed again. Our project is still set to 30 FPS, but it runs just like if it was 60 FPS. And if I close that and quickly change it back to 60 FPS, you'll see that nothing has changed. Our animations and timer all run at exactly the same rate. They're just a bit smoother now that we have more frames in between.
Whereabouts did I put that stuff? Maybe in the controller, maybe it's in the menu object. There we go, yeah, because the menu object persists through the entire game. So I got my actual delta. So everything, it's like probably have a lot of this stuff all over the place. So I'm multiplying these by time, which I guess I should still be fine to do that. I guess so. I mean, it can't. If I multiply it by 2, it'll be as if 2 steps happened in a single step. But obviously the delta time would probably be different on the next step anyway, so it wouldn't be entirely accurate because we can't see into the future, but I think that's, you know, how I'm supposed to do it. If I open another window, it's roasting. Suddenly got really warm today. Jeez Louise, okay. Gonna be hot and humid this weekend. So, yeah, I have a lot of these to replace. Check if... I don't think they will be, but we'll check if any of them are written like that. No, actually. And I have one that I added recently, which is like this. Oh, it's a 2. Oh, I have a few of those. Dehydration runs on the same. I did not know that. So I guess for anything like that, I'm gonna do actual delta multiplied by 2. Okay. So shouldn't be too difficult to do. Dehydration. Ah, it's not the thirst thing, it's the dehydration timer. The thing that checks. The thing that counts up when they're thirsty and eventually causes them to die of dehydration. I just totally forgot that that's how I do that. Nope, that's not what it is at all. No. It's the rate at which the thirst decreases. Okay. Okay. Getting way too cold now. Okay. I mean, do I have any other numbers divided by 60? Yes. Oh my god. Okay, so what is this? The speed at which the sun rises and sets is 4 divided by 60, so actual delta multiplied by 4 multiplied by time. what build? Okay, build. Okay. So we got some 5s for the speed at which they build stuff. Increases by 5 per second, so it takes 20 seconds to build something, but of course, if you have more than one carpenter building the same thing, it goes faster. It would take 10 seconds for 2 carpenters. 5 seconds for 3? I'm not totally sure on the math there. If I had to guess, I'd say that's probably the highest that I go with any of these. Probably not going above 5, are we? Okay. So the ones that are 1 divided by 60, I can easily just replace all of those with, what is it called? Actual delta? The time-consuming part of this is that I have to convert all of the alarms into variables. So, yeah. But at least we can knock most of these out with a simple find and replace, a global find and replace. There we go, that's that. And then anything that is 2 divided by 60, I better search for any that are written differently. No. Anything that's 2 divided by 60 would be like actual delta times 2 inside of the brackets there, like that. Actual delta times 2 times time. And then we had 5. Okay, so that stuff is all running on actual delta now, and mainly I'm using alarms for particle effects. I think that might be the only thing I'm using alarms for. No, it's not true. Or is it? I think I'm using alarms for the weather system. Possibly, yeah. So the rate of change for the weather wouldn't get delta time compensation currently. That's most stuff though, so, you know, if you were running at like 30 FPS, their hunger would still decay at the same rate and that type of thing. Curious about how the starvation timer and stuff works. It is. Okay. Why is that not an else if? That should definitely be an else if, shouldn't it? It should be if thirst is less than 0. I mean, the problem is that you would get the same thing if they died, right? Unless we split it into a separate if statement. We don't want reset their thirst timer when they're asleep. We just pause it when they're asleep. Thirst is less than 0, less than or equal to 0. We can just do else. Thirst time is if thirst is less than or equal to 0 and state is not drink, asleep, death, harvested. Death by dehydration, thirst time are greater than or equal to 240 times 3, which is 3 days. I don't know why I'm doing the math there when I could just say, would that be 480, 720, I think? I'll confirm that because I'm not very good at maths. 720. Why don't I just put 720 in there instead of doing multiplication every time? 240 times 7. 1,400 and 1,000. God damn it, brain, come on. I'm so close. I'm so close. $1,680. 1,680. Let's check. 240 times 7. 1,680. I don't know why I'm so bad at math. I think my brain is just not, doesn't work very well. Okay. And this one. Okay. Hunger is less than or equal to 0. And you're not in eat, sleep, death, or harvested state. Starvation time is incremented. Else, starvation time is 0. It's starvation time. Oh, look at the time. Starvation time. Starvation time. Okay. That's the actual thing that sets your health to 0. Hypothermia, heat stroke. Oh god, anything to avoid doing alarms, converting alarms to variables. Oh, there's so many of them throughout the whole project. Bleed effect. I just go through them in order. Probably the easiest way to keep track of things. What even is this? Holy spark, I see. Oh my god. Yeah, why do I do it that way? That's kind of weird, isn't it? Like, I'm always counting up to some amount instead of counting down to 0. So I need 2 variables instead of 1. Well, this sounds about right. I've been doing everything backwards the whole time. Make a lot more sense to count down to 0. Do I really want to change that stuff now? I don't know. Is there anything other than particles that runs on an alarm? Because that would be the high priority stuff to do. Bleed effect. Yes, that's an important one. Alarm 2 is an important one. The rest are pretty much purely aesthetic, in here at least, but all of the creatures have a bleed effect. So I need to do that for all of them. Zero is a really useful number in that regard. I'd say I would like to convert everything, but is it really worth the time at this stage? When it works, it would just be like a quality of life thing for me when programming. I mean, it all works the way it is now, and going forwards I could just start making timers that count down to 0 instead of counting up to some value. That would make a lot more sense, wouldn't it? I need to at least get the important stuff converted, which is basically this and the weather system, I suppose. Okay, so we're gonna want some sort of a... Do I have like a timers? I have action timers. So we're gonna want a... Fuck is a DP timer? No idea. Divine Protection timer, an invis timer, gotcha. Summon. Oh yeah, that has something to do with summoning them from tents, doesn't it? Timers should equal -1 by default. Oh, what about fire effect? God damn it. That one applies to a lot more stuff as well. Actually, no, it's less stuff. No, it's more stuff. Bleed tick. What is bleed tick? Bleed tick less than 10. Yeah, this is gonna throw me off. I gotta work out the actual tick rate on this thing. .25 every 15. Okay, so it goes, bleed tick goes up by 1. Bleed tick is the thing that tells it when to stop bleeding. It bleeds for 10 seconds. Right. So we're just going, and this happens every 15 frames or steps. Takes damage every 4. It takes damage 4 times per second, and it bleeds for 10 seconds. So it takes 40 damage. What? No, because it's 0.25 HP per tick. I thought we only dealt in whole numbers for hit points. It was mainly about, like, I think really I want them to do 1 damage per second, take 1 damage per second over 10 seconds, but the particle effect I want to be different. The particle effect looks good creating a particle 4 times per second, right? That's why this is weird. Don't really want to have to split these apart though. Becomes a bit cumbersome. P minus equals 0.25. Okay, well let's just get the important part is the damage, and then we'll do the particle effect. And I guess I'm not gonna have a script for this anymore. Or am I? I could make a function, bleed effect, where it's just like if bleed equals true, then we run this function, and that's it. That would certainly be better, wouldn't it? So let's put all of this stuff in here. Bleed timer equals 0, less than or equal to 0. Forget about the bleed tick for right now. State not death and not harvested. Well, aren't we just gonna disable bleeding upon death? Probably. Yes. Disable. So these checks are kind of redundant if we just disable bleeding upon death. Why wouldn't you just... I'm not sure why you wouldn't just have everything contained within the function. And then you just put the function in this event. I suppose really, I think it is a universal function, yeah. Fire stuff is not universal. It's just less work in the long run, and there's no reason not to do it that way, so... at least as far as I'm aware, there's no reason not to do it that way. So you would do that, and then... and you know you would want to increment bleed tick in here as well, I suppose. We don't need that stuff. This can probably just be an else. We set bleed back to false and bleed tick back to 0. So 1 HP per second. We need to set bleed timer back to 1. I think I kind of want bleed timer. I think I kind of want bleed timer to be 1 by default, so that so it doesn't tick immediately, but the first tick is after 1 second. What about the incrementation, though? Good point, good point. How does it work? How does it work? Greater than or equal to 10. Is that counting down as well, then? I feel I should count up the number of ticks for some reason. Right. Well, no, we can't do that. Maybe everything needs to be encapsulated in a bleed timer check. Bleed timer greater than 0. Well, we need to know that they're bleeding. We don't want to be incrementing this for no reason. Maybe that goes in there as well. If bleed is true and bleed timer is greater than 0, then bleed timer minus equals global actual delta. Okay, we subtract that. And then it kind of seems like the rest would be in a separate if statement. Where if bleed timer less than or equal to there's a practicality to splitting those. Bleed timer is greater than 0. Then we count down, else. we do the thing. So bleeding is true, bleed time is greater than 0, countdown, else if bleed tick is less than 10, then we subtract 1 HP and increment bleed tick by 1. And we need to set bleed timer back to 1. Okay. If bleed tick is less than 10, HP minus equals 1, bleed tick plus equals 1, bleed timer less than 10. So it would tick on 0 through 9, 10 ticks total, if I'm not mistaken. Bleed timer, reset bleed timer to 1, else, so if we have ticked 10 times, bleed becomes false, bleed tick gets reset to 0, and bleed timer gets reset to 1. That should be it, right? And then we just kind of need to work out the particle effects, which could also be built into the same thing, which would be really convenient, actually, wouldn't it? It's just it's going to work a little bit differently. Is there some sort of a check that we can do without having to have a second timer? Because that would be nice, wouldn't it? I mean, not really. We sort of need a second timer running. A bleed P timer? A P bleed timer? A bleed particle timer. It's not great having to have 2 timers. I'd rather not, but I don't think there's really any other way that I can do it. Well, you could, okay, so if we know that we check, well, we're checking this thing a lot. You could do a probability thing, like a chance. You could do it that way. You wouldn't need another timer, would you? So every time bleed timer gets incremented, you know, or even just as long as they are bleeding, you could do a 1 in 100 chance to spawn a particle, and then we could tweak it depending on how it looks. Could be okay. Could be okay, I guess. And then we would get rid of the alarm. Go to wherever our old bleed code was. Right here, and you would just put, let me rename it. There you go. It's a little bit better than what we had, isn't it? Could just use some sort of a way of testing this. I'll just make it so that attaching the follow cam to somebody makes them bleed. Well, shit. Hold on. Gonna have to update the other creatures, but now that I've done it once, it's easy. Delete alarm 1. End step. Bleed effect. Boom. I just gotta make sure that I'm definitely deleting the right alarm, because it could be different in one of them. Much nicer way of doing things, though. Gotta say, my next project is gonna be so much cleaner compared to how I wrote this one. And I'm gonna get to refactor a lot of this one too, I'm sure, as well. We're doing it right now, as we speak. Alarm 1. Okay, they were all alarm 1. Better safe than sorry, though. There we go. Okay, be able to run the game now, and in fact, it should work perfectly for all of them. Oh crap! I'm in YYC mode. I forgot to switch back to VM. Man. I don't know how I feel at the minute. I wonder if I could be in danger of burning out or like getting sick from overworking, or I can't really tell. It's just weird. I can't tell if I'm going strong or if I'm about to collapse. Am I on the verge of collapse? I don't know. I don't know. It's like I'm well aware that I need to slow down and take more time off and take better care of myself. But at the same time, I don't really have that luxury because, you know, if I don't get something off the ground here, I'm gonna run out of money and potentially die. Or, you know, experience homelessness or something. That does not seem to be... Oh, it worked that time. Oh, it did work the previous time as well. The chance is just too low, so they're not bleeding enough. But I think this will be quite good. With a bit of a tweak. I mean, you could do... There's 60 ticks, so you could do... 60 ticks per second. So you could do a 1 in 60 chance. What? Does that make any sense? It would be 100. That would kind of be like saying 100% chance of 1 drop of blood per second, but not really, because that's not how chance works. Oh fuck! I've done it again. I've really got to switch this into VM mode. I don't know what's going on outside. There's some weird noises. I don't know if you can hear that. There's always weird noises around here. It's like living in The Walking Dead or something. Okay, well, it was a bit faster the second time around anyway. I should make a save and then I don't have to do this every time. I think maybe the random bleeding would look better as well, rather than them bleeding, you know, every 0.25 seconds, like, consistently. Bit of randomness to it could be good. It needs to be more than this still, otherwise it's like... Yeah, see, like a little spurt like that occasionally kind of looks good. I think it probably needs to be a little bit more extreme, though. I don't know, it's not bad. Jesus Christ. Hmm. I'm fairly happy with this effect, but I think a little bit more blood would be good. You just need to be able to look and, like, at a glance, you need to sort of know whether they're bleeding or not, right? 1 in 50 chance. I keep forgetting. Oh my god. But yeah, at least we're getting close to like the Steam page and stuff now. That is a good sign. I mean, I might not necessarily even need to survive until the end of development, right? If I get a publishing deal, then I just need to survive until I can get a publishing deal. And I know I need a publishing deal. Because... what the hell? Was that me? That was just me. Okay, the chance is clearly still too low, because that was like no blood for a good few seconds there. Right, a 1 in 40 chance. I'm just going to keep going down. Yeah, it's really nice if I could build more universal functions like this. I mean, this one's not really a universal function. It is because it works the same for everybody, but there are other functions where they might need to, like, the same function might need to work slightly differently depending on the type of object it's being run on or something like that. This is a problem with randomness. It's random, isn't it? It's like you can have a long period of time with no blood, and then suddenly there's tons of blood. And when they take damage normally, not from the damage over time effect, it's always like, I think 1 drop of blood per hit point lost. So the more damage they take, the more blood there is. And this deviates from that. If you wanted to make this the same, then obviously I should just make 1 drop of blood every tick, which would be 1 drop every second for 10 seconds. It would be like perfectly consistent, but then you would have visual feedback of exactly how much damage they're taking, which arguably might be a good thing. I kind of like it, to be honest with you. I mean, again, I'm a big fan of consistent game rules because, well, it makes everything predictable and easier to understand what's going on. We understand in this case visually how much damage they're taking. It might not look as cool as like the randomness with the occasional spurts of blood and stuff, but this is more like accurate visual feedback. It gives us more information about what's happening in a way. Kinda like that. I think for consistency I might keep it like this. Yeah, I would say it doesn't look as cool, but it's more useful and more in keeping with the existing systems. If we look at the health bar at the same time, we'll see it going down 1 per thing, so it's like synced up. Yeah. Yeah. I think we'll just do that. Plus, it's more efficient when we're not having to roll a random number and stuff. Okay, that's cool. Okay. So the fire effect would be the next one that I have to do. And this one... Well, that's the thing, I suppose it's different for every type of object that can be extinguished. But I could build it into the fire extinguish script. Where is that? Rain extinguish. That's not a very good name. It doesn't tell me that this is to do with the rain extinguishing the fire. This should be called something else, like rain extinguish. Fire. You could just call it fire rain, to be honest with you. Because extinguish, I think, should be like the behavior when the fire is extinguished. This should be called like fire rain. We got fire heat, fire spread, fire rain, fire extinguish would be this stuff, but we would need to combine it because I'm pretty sure if we look at like the tents, when the tent is extinguished, it's gonna have some different behavior. Where is that stuff? Some of it's universal, of course, but this is a rabbit? Since when am I looking at the rabbit code? Okay. Actually, they all seem very similar. What is this? There it is. So I think this should be called fire rain. Should I get rid of the SC as well, or is it too late now? They all have SC at the beginning. Well, I can easily do a global find and replace. That's whatever. Fire extinguish needs to be replaced with fire rain. And then I would make a fire extinguish script which contains the extinguish stuff and like whatever code it needs for handling different types of objects. If there is some differences, like on... See, I noticed that... Well, that makes sense, actually, doesn't it? I'm assuming the human extinguish code probably looks... Yeah, looks the same as the tent extinguish code, but it's also got this stuff as well. Combatants... Build list, right, so there's some stuff is unique to tents. Some stuff is universal. Some stuff is specific to just humans and tents, but not animals, so... I mean, how concerned am I about this? This is not even what I'm supposed to be doing right now. I'm going off on a tangent, aren't I? This is like a lot of refactoring to make it do exactly the same thing in a different way. For no reason, really. I'm just like cleaning up my code, basically, for no reason. It doesn't change the functionality of anything. Maybe this is not what I'm supposed to be doing right now. What am I supposed to be doing? Well, it needs to be... Well... That's kind of the point. How does this work? Well, this doesn't even work on a... Okay, okay, I need to convert this thing so that it does damage like once every second or something like that instead of once every step. Otherwise we can't do delta time compensation. Or can we? No, not really. Okay. So I have to rework all of this stuff. What even is this? 0.027 recurring times 60. 1.6 recurring. They take 1.6 damage per second. Okay. Fair enough. Can we just change it to something simple? Obviously I felt like this was a good amount of damage, like timing wise, but in some more recent testing I have felt that like tents burn down a little bit too quickly. Like it's hard for the humans to extinguish them in time. You know, it's always easy for the player to extinguish them as long as they have the power to do so, but yeah, the humans sometimes struggle to, especially if more than one tent catches on fire, or if a tent catches on fire and all of the humans in that tent catch on fire as well, then it takes them so long to extinguish all of the humans that the tent usually burns down. I think the rate of burning is the same universally, yeah, because I wanted like consistency. Everything burns at the same rate. Everything is extinguished at the same rate. This all needs to be changed as well. Well, a light rain A light rain extinguishes fire at the same rate that fire burns stuff. And then the heavier the rain, the faster it extinguishes. But how would we do delta time in this case? You would do like delta time multiplied by, sorry, you would do actual delta multiplied by like 1.25, for example, for like 25% increase. And so on. We could do it like that. So this could be like actual delta multiplied by 0.25, 0.5, 0.75. Something like that. Okay. It would be really nice to just have some sort of fire script again, wouldn't it? Where everything is done inside of the function. It's much cleaner. Where even is it? See, it's so clean I can't even find it. Or I'd literally just put this like fire effect script in here, and then it does everything. It checks if they're on fire, it does the damage, it does the heat, and the emits heat and spreads the fire, and I'm not sure where the particle effects are. Where are the particle effects? I don't know. I think they might be in an entirely separate event even. Just to be extra confusing. So getting it all like combined into one place, all the fire code under one roof, will really kind of help. Well, I guess we are refactoring this. We're going to refactor the hell out of it. Where is the fire code? God, I'm looking for... I think it's down here somewhere. Here we go. Right, it's based on alarms again. So we need to convert this sucker off alarms. Get these particles going some other which way. Well, at least it's a pretty simple one. Well, these guys don't emit smoke, though. There's certain other stuff that when it's on fire, it emits smoke. And that runs on a different timer, so we would have like a fire timer and a smoke timer. This one does... what is this? This one does the fire and the sparks at the same time. And then the humans don't actually emit smoke when they're on fire. The tents do. Okay, right. So we already we have a fire heat script, fire spread script. I think we also have a fire effect script somewhere. Am I even using that? What is that? I swear I saw it. See, we do have a fire effect. It just does damage. It's like the most useless function in the world. What even is this? What? I don't think I'm even using this for anything anymore. Am I using this? Wolf, rabbit, fox, deer. Okay, well if it's not being used on the humans anymore, then that sounds to me like it's been phased out and I just haven't gotten around to updating everything else yet. Jesus Christ. Okay. 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 So this fire effect script is going to become our new, like, fire code. Everything's going to be consolidated in there. I'll get rid of these alarms. Let's clean this up a bit. So we don't need to check this stuff because we simply, well, I certainly hope we set fire to false upon death. As long as we do that, we don't need to be checking if they're dead or whatever. State does not equal held. Is that the problem? I don't know. I mean, once it's been set to false, it's not going to get set back again, is it? So, once they've died once, you know, then on fire is false. Okay, well, we have a plan of action. I just need to take a bathroom break, and then I'll get to work on this stuff, and hopefully we can consolidate all the fire code into one handy little function that'll just do everything for us. That'll be pretty sweet. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, just realized something. I don't think we want to change actual delta, which is what we're doing all over the place. You know, actual delta is just counting in seconds. It's just like running a timer in seconds. And I don't think we ever really want to be like running the timer faster. Ideally, we want that to always run at the same rate of 1 second per second, which makes sense. So what's our alternative? What's our solution? We need to reduce the length of time versus the rate at which time progresses. Yeah. So if I find something like actual delta times 2. Oh my god, there's so many. Something like that. Well, we can't do that in this case because we are I mean, it's not even really a timer. What we're doing is depleting a resource. Time could be described as a resource, I suppose, but oh my god, I'm hungry. Because we're not getting accurate results if I do that. Or are we? I don't know, I've got to open a window. I suppose it's okay. It's just as if we were decrementing it by 2 this second, no, this frame, this step. We're decrementing it by 2 this step, but offset by how long it actually took to produce this frame or something. I guess it's fine. I don't know. I mean, it's I think what you would really want to be doing here would be like 2 multiplied by delta multiplier. Actually, 1, because these aren't timers really, so we should be doing it the other way, I think. What, but it would still be 2 divided by 60 multiplied by, see, that would give me the actual, yeah, that would actually be correct in this case. And then there's some other ones where it is actually time based, like the that one, nope, that's a resource as well. That's not a timer. Okay, so that one should be 5. Well, it should be 1 divided, well, what should it be? 5 divided by 60 multiplied by delta multiplier. Right. Yeah, anything that's not actually a timer should be done that way instead. God damn it. Oh well. That's fine, we can do that. Delta multiplier. Let me just find an example of that, like in the movement code. Ceiling. Okay, it's just the movement speed multiplied by global delta multiplier, and then in our case we'll be doing the amount we want to add to a particular tracker or resource tracker or progress bar multiplied by delta multiplier. So this one would be 5 divided by 60, more brackets, multiplied by delta multiplier multiplied by time. And then we would hit 5 after a second as opposed to hitting 5 after 60 steps or 60 frames. I'm not sure which. Yeah. I don't know if it's kind of the same thing at this point or what. So even if you ran the game at 30 FPS, this would still take a second to reach 5, as opposed to taking 2 seconds. That's it, basically, I think. And then it would be like that. And then I'm pretty sure all of the animals have similar stuff. Ah, it's stored in... Why don't the humans have that then? Okay. It's gonna be in here. So, calf metabolism, Jesus Christ, man. 2.5 divided by 60. Okay, so anything that works like this. That one becomes like that. This one is 5. 2.5. Okay, I would have missed these ones if I didn't check. I didn't know there was some that were like 0.25 and stuff. Okay. Okay, that's that. Anything else? Does that work? Like, does this just get set once when this is created, or does this actually check the up-to-date actual delta every time? How would I find that out? Oh. It only gets checked once when it is first defined, so that doesn't work. Okay. Also, what about like the order of operations? How do we know that actual delta is getting updated before we call it? Like, gets updated in the step event of the menu object, right? How do we know that this is getting executed before everything else? We would have to put it in like the begin step event instead? Seems logical. Because, I mean, half of the stuff could get updated based on the delta time from the previous step, and then this object, this variable gets updated like halfway through the current step, and then the rest of the stuff has a different delta time. I don't know. Seems like it should be in a begin step. Okay. So whenever I'm setting something, we can't. Okay, so we can't set a variable like that. Well, we're screwed. We're screwed. What am I supposed to do? So if I set these, they get set based on the delta multiplier at the time that I set them. It's not like this is going to be updated. So these, okay. So it needs to be like, Jesus Christ, man, this is crazy. We need to remove all this garbage. What did we have originally? Okay, we need to put these back to how they were originally. Okay. And then the humans don't work like that. And then this gets set like, we don't want the time multiplier on here. Okay, and then we know those values are in there. And then when we actually do this, we need to do dehydration multiplied by global delta multiplier multiplied by time. That's where it gets really weird, the multiplied by time bit. It's almost as if I would need to multiply time by the global delta multiplier as well if I wanted the time scale to be applied correctly, accurately, based on real time, independent of frame rate. Okay. But as long as we're referencing global delta multiplier directly like that, then we're actually getting the up-to-date multiplier. So this time value is like some number between 1 and 8, depending on what time scale we're running in. I don't know if I actually need the extra brackets there, but hey. So it would need to be like that. Oh, god damn it. This is the kind of thing that, like, would have been really useful to know at the beginning, right? Now I've got to go through and change like 1,000 things. Okay. Because right now, if you run the game at like 2 times speed, but your frame rate is low, then stuff is still, say you have 30 FPS and you run the game at 2 times speed, that would be the same as running the game at 1 time speed. Whereas if we do this, the game would still run at 2 times speed independent of your frame rate. Okay. Okay. And metabolism. Yeah, we can't do that. That needs to be 1 divided by 60. And where's the regen applied? Regen plus equals regen. Multiplied by global delta multiplier. Can't do a global find and replace for time because it appears in different contexts as well. So this is going to take some time. No pun intended. Ah, well, that one can just be set to global actual delta. I mean, I guess that works. Like, I can't really. Well, I'm not very good at math on a good day. I can't really imagine it. I don't know. Ah, fuck yeah. Okay, regen equals. Okay, yeah. This is the problem. I guess that would be right. Yeah. Why don't we apply the time multiplier there? Oh, we have to apply the time multiplier there. We can't apply it here. That's a terrible idea. We need to do here regen timer plus equals regen delta multiplier multiplied by time multiplied by multiplier. Right. Thirst plus equals 100 divided by 60. My formatting is all over the place now. Hundred divided by 180? Okay. 3 seconds then. Actual delta time, yeah, okay.
Leroy Jenkins!
8 bits a byte, what's up, man? Thanks for the raid. How's it going? Welcome, Grog. Welcome, Brewer. Welcome, Aaron TTV. Welcome, Brent. Welcome, Asloyafmj. Hope I'm getting that one even vaguely correct. How's it going? How was your stream? Have you been doing more Twitch integration? I enjoyed checking out what you were up to on my lunch break yesterday. Appreciate it. Optimization is pretty much done. That's not true. It's going well though. There's a lot of little things left to do, but I'll just, slowly chip away at them as I come across them, really, I think. Taraka 8 Flames, you're on the Twitch GameMaker game dev stream train. What am I doing? I'm trying to navigate my way to my dashboard. I don't know what I'm doing. It's Aslay. No, hold on. Aslay of MJ. That might be it, actually. Is it Aslay of MJ? Thanks for the follow. Appreciate that. A Slay of MJ. I was close. I got a bit closer the second time. Thanks for the follow, dude. Appreciate that. A running counter of how many GM. Yeah, we gotta beat the max combo. Continuation on the Twitch integration. Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna play around with something like that once I reach an appropriate stopping point here, and I can put the actual game dev to rest for a bit and work on some like custom stream avatars for my stream. That'll be after I've finished all of the sprites, so I can repurpose those for stream avatars. I really do need to do a bit of an overhaul of my stream here. It's pretty bare bones. A lot of you guys have very fancy streams, and I feel like I'm not offering a high enough production quality, really. I'm not offering enough value. Slave MJ looking to get started with game dev. Nice. One of us. One of us. Brew, you can't tell me your stream is bare bones, Brewer. It's glorious. Yeah, I was doing the music for a while, but it's problematic when streaming on YouTube, and I don't have any good options for royalty-free music right now. When the game has a soundtrack one day, we could play that. RNTTV has been making their first game for the last 3.5 years. Nice. Well, I'm not far behind you. It's not my first game. It's my first major project, though, and I've been working on it for about 3 years now. Okay. Actual delta. So I'm doing delta time compensation. It's just a lot of tedious changes that need to be made. Fish timer. What? Action timer greater than... Okay then. Oh, yeah, I don't have Spotify. Doing an RPG. Nice. Nice, I like it. A man after my own heart. Yeah. To hell with the advice to start small. Make a Pong clone. Fuck you. I'm gonna make an RPG. And there's nothing you can do to stop me. Soundstripe. Monthly sub, but you can use music for any project. Oh, interesting. Okay. Not heard of that one before. Yeah. I agree. I think you should follow your heart, because everybody's different, but for me, if I'm not working on my dream game, I'm just not gonna do it, because I wouldn't have the motivation. I need to be doing the thing. Pretzel Rock. Are we just making up names now? Pretzel Rock? Yes, Brewer has been a great help to myself, as well as Grog, and many other developers. Oh yeah, no, I'm the same. If I haven't been programming for a minute, I do sort of forget things and I slip back. It's kind of like I travel back in time and become a previous version of myself. Start doing things the way I used to. Right. I think there's no one size fits all. You've definitely got to do what works for you. But I'm kind of similar. I always had a fascination with life sims, and I was always curious to see if I could ever make one. Global... What is this? Oh, right. Oh, interesting. So the rate of decay is also based on the temperature. But that needs to be... If that's not modified by time, then they won't decay faster at higher timescales. Why don't you like my bracket there? What's wrong with that? What's going on? Global temp divided by 10 divided by 60. Okay, it's fine this time apparently. I don't know what I did differently. Yes, the GameMaker Twitch community is incredibly supportive. A lot of cool dudes. It's been a real breath of fresh air. Indeed. Oh yeah. I think the category has kind of blown up a bit more recently. Quite a lot of Twitch devs now. You use an engine called RPG in a box. Oh, I've not heard of that one. That's cool. The Blue Sky starter pack. Nice. Okay, and we multiply this by time. Can't believe I was overlooking that. Action timer. Interesting. So the skeletons also would have faded out at the same rate, independent of timescale. Man, I implemented timescale years ago, and apparently missed a bunch of stuff. Slave MJ says the problem they have is starting projects and never finishing them. Imagine that happens a lot with game development too. I know a lot of developers like that. They're always on something new. They're always on some new shit, and I'm like, will you just finish a project, for God's sake? I'm the opposite. I've been on this shit for 3 years and I don't really come up with new ideas. I've only just recently started having ideas for the next game. But I've probably realistically still got about 3 years to go on this one. Dialogue editor. Nice. Oh, it sounds good. I've dabbled with RPG Maker in the past. It's a bit too restrictive for me. You have to, I think, use a lot of scripts and stuff to get it to do stuff, but I mean, that's fine. It is what it is. It's like, why are we trying to force RPG Maker to be something that it isn't? I don't know. No, I totally get that, yeah. Making 2 games at once. I don't know a lot of people who are doing that. I know Otter Makes Games is working on 2 games at once. Well, actually, probably the ultimate example of that is Hamster Hammer, who's working on about 700 games simultaneously somehow. Absolute madman. If you switch to a new project, it has to be smaller than... That's quite good. It's quite a good way of forcing yourself to finish things, else you've got to keep scaling down. I might take a look at it sometime. Okay, looks like we got through this event. Pretty sure I changed everything in the attributes script already, didn't I? Well, I reverted it. It was correct originally. And then we need to remove this from here. And then regen, no, regen needs to be 1 divided by 60. And then we need to go in here and dehydration. How does this work again? Also, why is this not being modified by time? Because I thought it was built in, but that's not how it works. Wow, okay. And this would be dehydration multiplied by, no, actual, no, how's this work again? Delta multiplier, makes sense. If I'm multiplying by something, it's probably going to be the multiplier, isn't it? And then multiply that by time multiplied by the multiplier. Alright, 8-bits, thanks for the raid, dude. Have a great day. I'll catch you in the next one, either here or over on your stream. That's a crazy idea. Okay. what I was trying to do was like apply the delta time compensation to the fire code, and that was going to be a whole refactor of the fire code to consolidate it all down into one nice function that could just be used like a universally. Which I'm still going to do, but then I realized like, oh, everything else is actually wrong. I need to fix all of that first. I'm mainly focusing on the create events right now, but I'm probably going to have to check the others too. Okay, this one is not correct. That should be 2 divided by 60 multiplied by time multiplied by delta multiplier. Oh, it's FPS Fridays. Romero's playing some of the new Doom. I'm probably going to miss it. I'll catch the VODs later, I guess. Yeah, using delta times at Press OK's recommendation, having to convert everything. It would have been really nice to know this in the beginning, but here we are. Yeah, it'll be pretty nice. I mean, it's another way of making the game sort of run on more systems. Yeah, I've like doubled the amount of work that I need to do practically. But hey, can't use alarms, so yeah, everything I've converted a couple of things or one thing off of alarms so far, but everything else needs converting off of alarms as well. The important stuff, fortunately I was mainly using alarms for like particle effects. The important stuff mostly didn't use alarms. An alarm constructor class. Yeah, sure, you can send it my way. I'm not sure if it would confuse me even more than just kind of doing things my own way, but I'll take a look at it and see how I feel. I guess it could be useful. Time at 1 multiplied by time. What? Alright, the slave MJ, take it easy. Best of luck. Since making it, you don't use alarms anymore. Okay. Interesting. What are you using instead of alarms? Your alarms which were not really alarms. But I'm assuming you're still calling alarms, but now no longer use. God timer minus equals 1 multiplied by time. This seems weird. Why is this the way it is? It's never usually like this. What's going on? I just need to take a quick look at this. Thought I was in the create event. Called it alarm. That's why it's confused. I don't know what you're talking about anymore. you saying you don't use alarms anymore because you use the alarm constructor? Or are you saying you don't even use the alarm constructor anymore and you use something else? First one, I'm guessing. Okay, yeah, okay. I thought you were like, I made this thing and I don't use it anymore. This is the same. Why on earth is this like this? I mean, we can't, if I do it this way, we can't apply delta time compensation, so I need to convert this. Good lord, look at the time. That is not good. Where has the time gone today? I'm supposed to be working out today, but it's almost 4. I'm gonna need to find like an appropriate stopping point here where I can remember where I was and come back to this. Let's try and get through the Fox's create event at least. So this is gonna need to be like... Why is it not based on action timer? Everything else uses action timer. Why is this one gotta be different? And then I would need to lower these values to like 3 and 12, I guess. God time. What even is this? What is any of this? Action timers usually count up to a certain value, so I can't... Well, I mean, I could. But it's like... Okay. Well, so I can change this to be 3 and 12. No worries. I'm sure you probably got a couple of people looking at their discords, though. God, time minus 1 multiplied by time multiplied by global delta multiplier. Okay, I'll have to take a look at this in a bit. God, time. Okay, so but that should be 1 divided by 60. I mean, there's no. Do we really need to worry about that, or can we keep it as 1 and keep those like that? I mean, we can. We can do that. Whoa, what the hell? No, no. I mean, this would be a good case to do, to reduce that to 3 and 12, and then put actual delta in here. Right? I think that's how we do it. Okay, and then this needs to be 100 divided by 60 multiplied by global delta multiplier, and then multiply that by time. Alright, Grug, enjoy your lunch. Thanks again, dude. Delta multiplier. For some reason I don't like how the / looks without the spaces, but I'm going to have to get used to it because I think I'd rather save the space. Okay. Action to okay. See, usually I'm whatever. Yeah, unfortunately I can't do a global find and replace on this stuff. You know, this time shows up in too many different contexts. So this one, same as last time. Wait, did I remember to get all those brackets in there last time? Maybe not. Oh, I just straight up forgot to do that. It's supposed to be... Okay, we need a couple extra brackets. Multiply the result of that by delta multiplier. Multiply that by time. There we go. Okay, good job I remembered that. I suppose that should be modified by the multiplier as well. Not doing that here either. Even though it's such a small number, I think we're still supposed to do it. Okay, that's all of them. For the fox create event, next we can do the wolf. But yeah, I'm gonna have to lift some weights before it gets too late. So I'll be back in like 5 minutes on the phone. It usually takes me like an hour and a half to work out, and then I'll be doing some more game dev later on after I've had a bite to eat. So thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you in a bit, or I'll see you in 5, depending whether you want to stick around for that or not. Alright, peace out.